So how's this for what must surely be the most, strident call of this election campaign, election 2025. This from the latest astroturfing mob. An astroturfing group is a fake grassroots campaign lobby. Here it is, to quote them. They believe in the Islamic Brotherhood. They will do anything in their power to establish a worldwide Islamic caliphate. Yes, that's election 2025. And they're talking about, you guessed it, the Greens. Ne'er could you find a greater, whiter group of atheists and lapsed Protestants, but the Greens. But apparently, according to this pro-Israel, pro-fossil fuel lobby group, the latest one in a number, we've been doing quite a bit of work on this, the Greens are scheming to establish a worldwide Islamic caliphate. Hell-bent on the caliphate. So what we have here is, in this election campaign, a sewer of fear-mongering, false advertising and foreign interference. We're just going down America's toxic route towards authoritarian democracy. Super PACs, dark money, lies, corporatocracy. Most Australians surely want truth in advertising. They put the number at about 90% that would like to see truth in advertising, as well as upfront disclosure about who is financing all these core flutes and billboards and online ads, so we don't have to be bombarded with this tripe. I mean, some of this stuff makes Clivey Palmer's Trumpet of Patriots daily unsolicited text messages. It makes it look very tame. Now we are just days out from election 2025. And we've been doing some work on this astroturfing sector because it is growing and it is insidious. Wendy Bacon and Yaakov Aharon have been doing the rounds of the booths, doing a bit of digging around on the internet, a bit of OSINT. Now, we've exposed Advance Australia before. This is probably the most prominent shadowy group, if you can be prominent and shadowy at the same time. They're funded by fossil fuels, foreign fossil fuel interests, and they're linked to the shadowy Atlas Group, funded by billionaires in the US. We've also exposed last week Better Australia. Better Australia. Another pro-fossil fuel, pro-Israel mob, genocide-y. But this one's got a wrinkle because it's backed by both Liberal and Labor power brokers. They're together to bash up the third parties and the independents, working together, hand in hand, arm in arm. Mine enemy's enemy is my friend. To bash up the Teals and the Greens. Anybody challenging the duopoly and the global rules-based order narrative. Because you see, the duopoly, the LibLab duopoly, takes its money from corporations and powerful vested interests. Now, it's true to say that there should be focus on all financing of election campaigns, and there should be lifetime disclosure of financing. Well, here they are for the Teals. They're richly funded, backed by Climate 200, Simon Holmes Accords thing, but this is public money, mostly people from the community who are concerned about climate, integrity and women's issues. It's based on people in each electorate, mostly. They want to see Zoe Daniel or Allegra Spender get up because they're sick of the duopoly. So the similarities end there with the dark money, because the dark money is literally foreign interference and the AEC is doing nothing about it, of course. You'd have to do a lot of digging because there are a lot of these little nefarious little astroturfing groups. And the Greens too have their wealthy private backers interested in similar issues, integrity in politics and climate. The difference is the corporate fossil fuel element and the foreign interference aspect of it, astroturfing. It's lobby groups posing as community-backed mums and dads organisations when in fact they're financed by foreign interests. And their goal is to further these foreign interests, not the interests of the community, to get taxes down for corporations and billionaires. The foreign fuels corporations are mostly, even the Australian domestic multinationals are mostly, like 80 or 90% owned by foreign shareholders. And then the Shells, Exxons and Chevrons of the world are 100% owned, just foreign money. If you look at their lobby groups, the Australian Petroleum Producers Association used to be called APIA. They changed their name when we busted them for dodgy reporting and disclosure, breaking the laws, breaking the Corporations Act. The Australian Petroleum Producers, they all call themselves Australian. The Minerals Council of Australia, the Business Council of Australia, but they're all majority owned. Their companies are majority owned. Many of them are 100% owned by foreign multinationals. In this case, the Australian Petroleum Producers Association, which tipped in about 70 grand to this election, speaking for big oil and gas. They've got Labor and Liberal in their pockets, these guys. But to this latest mob, the Islamic Caliphate crew, it's called Minority Impact Coalition, the Shadowy organisation. It appeared on Australia's political landscape in February this year. Its official object is to, quote them, mutual respect and tolerance between groups of people in Australia by actively countering racism and being widespread understanding and intolerance among all sections of the community. Balderdash. Nonsense. In fact, it's spreading ignorance and fear to millions of mostly male Australians, making old white men more angry. It's a small group, this mob, minority coalition mob, it's a small group of Jewish, Iranian and Hindu individuals that poses as a grassroots multicultural movement, and it's supported by the far right-wing group Advance Australia, that in turn is backed by the Liberal Party, fossil fuel and Zionist interests. It has enough money to make a big online splash in a desperate scramble to election day. And so it is that we disclose on the website today. The story will be posted showing the money trails as we do. It's anti-Labor, but it's far more anti-Greens. You know, the Greens are terrorists, Hamas supporters narrative. Most people are disengaged with the political process, and so it has an impact, this smearing, this industrial scale smearing. In Brisbane, it's targeting the Greens' held seats of Ryan, Brisbane and Griffith. In Melbourne, it's focused on McNamara, where Labor's Josh Burns could lose to the Greens. And in New South Wales, it's targeting Greens candidates everywhere, and the Labor held seat of Gilmore, where Greens preferences could defeat a challenge from the LNP's Andrew Constance. So its weapons are online ads, trucks with billboards and leaflet mail-outs. Its communications are authorised by Josh Turia, a right-wing extremist who's vehemently, maybe he wouldn't think he's an extremist, but certainly pro-Israel, who is vehemently pro the Israel Defence Force. Another director is Ros Mendel, an Israeli-Australian who's been promoted by the, most nut-jobby of all, the AJA, the Australian Jewish Association. They're all in cahoots. In mid-April, they paid $1,500 for an inflammatory Meta ad, which they then repeated a week later. And this is the soundtrack. Here it is.
They've got the photos in the University of Sydney, and they've got 4 Taliban flag and 1 Palestinian flag. Nothing about Australia, but they are in heart of the Australia and supporting Taliban.
This is the Greens we're talking about here, Taliban supporters. Yeah, for sure.
They don't actually believe in the concept of a nation. They don't believe in borders. They don't believe there's a national identity. They believe in the Islamic Ummah or the Islamic Brotherhood. They will do anything in their power to establish a worldwide Islamic caliphate.
They will do anything in their power to establish a worldwide Islamic caliphate. Head choppers. The irony, of course, is that over in Syria, Israel and America have punted Assad and put this regime in, which is literally the old ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the head choppers. Mine enemy's enemy is my friend. And so it is that the minor parties are up against it in this election, up against a wave of bullshit. And bullshit works because most people are not tuned into the money trail. They just hear stuff and they tick a box, Better Australia. Another one that promotes local politics but now operates at state, local and federal levels. They purport to be in it for local council, local stuff.
Hi, I'm Sophie Callan from Better Australia. We're a non-partisan group of Australians worried about the future of our country. When too many minor party candidates or independents get into power, Australia will experience an unstable and divisive government. Unstable minority governments are bad for Australia. Australia needs a stable government that can act decisively to tackle the rising cost of living, not divisive minority parties pushing their own agenda and slowing progress.
Authorised by S. Callan, Better Australia, Sydney.
Community stuff, roads, rates and rubbish. What councils do. But no, they're pinning their ears back in the federal one too because Israel. The local politics arena where they've been in it to bag the Greens and sow division and hatred because the Greens are anti-genocide. Australia needs to eliminate all this dark money from politics. It is toxic. We are headed down America's dark path to corporatocracy and authoritarian democracy. Attacks on freedom of speech and minorities, silly laws coming in to muzzle freedom of speech. Hate speech laws. There are a bunch of others. Hate speech laws, by the way, based on false premises. Demonstrably false, as the police have demonstrated. And there are a bunch of these. And we can thank Belinda Noble for Comms Declare, as well as Wendy Bacon and Yarkon for pulling together the data on all this anti-Labor, anti-renewables, astroturfing group. Energy for Australians is another one, a registered association. It seems to be linked to Samuel Lee, owner of Atlas Chartered Accountants. Funny that. Atlas's Facebook page shows his clients include the Australian Taxpayers Alliance. He's also mentioned by the New South Wales Libertarian Party and Tim Quilty of the Libertarians. In the month of March 20 to April 18, the Australian Taxpayers Alliance spends almost $80,000 on Meta and $66,000 on Google, getting tax down for those who can most afford to pay tax. Who are the biggest dodgers? Meta, of course, is Instagram too, because Facebook owns Instagram, or Meta, which owns Facebook, owns Instagram. Advance has spent more than $500,000 in the past 3 months over at least 5 different Meta pages. I'm going to record all that on the website, and $164,000 on Google. Meta spent $64,000 on Meta ads, $57,000 on Google ads. All this for anti-teal and anti-green spiels. So it is that we need truth in advertising laws, and we need lifetime disclosure of who is spending what. Have a good election day, and thanks for your support. Please like, share and comment in the space below. We were going to do an election night independent media special, but of course the petty foggers, the ambulance chasers, got in the way of that and tried to take us down with a vexatious lawsuit. So we'll try to get something done early Sunday just with the independent view on how the election went. You would have to say, with this splurge on pro-major parties, pro-fossil fuel, pro-Israel, anti-Greens, anti-Teals, anti-independence narratives out there, just an abundance of them, they're going to have an impact. But it will be very interesting to see whether the one-third divvy up of Australian votes now, whether the third parties actually, the independents, do gain. That's the trend for a couple of decades now. It'll be very interesting to see. So we'll catch you on the next video.